Get ready, Friar Faithful. This is the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network.
Jackson swings, hits it in the air, deep to right field. He has done it again. Unbelievable.
Coming up, we'll have a recap of the previous Padres game, a preview of today's starting pitching matchup, our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Mike Shildt.
Ultimately, what we're here to do is win.
From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today, the Padres take on the Minnesota Twins in the first game of a three-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today for the Twins, right-hander Zebby Matthews, and for the Padres, left-hander Nestor Cortes. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. First pitch coming up at 5:10 p.m. A lot to do in the next 50 minutes. We'll hear from Padres shortstop Xander Bogaerts. Major news on Xander before today's game. We'll get to that in a bit. Luis Arraez joins the program as he returns to Minnesota as a visiting player for the very first time. We hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. We'll check in with Tony Gwynn Jr. in just a few minutes, and we also hear from Twins broadcaster Corey Provus. But first, it's time to set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa Vista and Oceanside, and at FraserFarmsMarket.com. Padres enter today 75-59. They enter the day 2 games out of first place in the National League West behind the LA Dodgers. Padres currently sitting in the NL second wildcard spot. Twins, meanwhile, come in 60-73, a season that started with high hopes in Minnesota, but the Twins underperformed and then traded away a ton of guys at the deadline. We'll talk more about that later. Twins just lost 2 out of 3 in Toronto. They're only 4-12 in their last 16 games. As far as the Padres, well, they played the rubber game of their series in Seattle on Wednesday. Let's rewind.
Did you miss what happened in the last Padres game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind on the Padres Radio Network.
Our starting pitching matchup in the series finale on Wednesday in Seattle, Yu Darvish against Brian Wu. The Mariners led 1-0 going to the bottom half of the 4th inning. There were 2 on base for Eugenio Suarez.
And the pitch to Suarez, hit in the air, high and deep to left center field. Sheets is back. He is at the wall. It's going to go. Another 3-run homer. Suarez had one in the 5th inning yesterday. He's got one in the 4th inning here today. And the Mariners now lead 4-0.
Darvish went 4 innings. He allowed 4 runs. Padres trailed 4-0 going to the 6th inning. Wu got in trouble. He hit Ramon Laureano with a pitch. Ryan O'Hearn hit a 1-out single with runners on first and second. 2 men away. It was Gavin Sheets.
Gavin swings, grounds it underneath of Wu's glove into center field and a base hit. Laureano will be waved. He comes in to score, and the Padres are on the board thanks to Gavin Sheets' second hit of the day. It's 4-1.
Padres got another run to make it 4-2. They still trailed 4-2 going to the 9th inning. Mariners closer Andres Munoz on the mound. Fernando Tatis Jr. got the Padres a little bit closer.
And Fernando swings, hits it on a line to right center field. Long run, not going to get there. Bounces down beyond Robles and Rodriguez. Cronenworth in to score. It's an RBI double, and now a 1-run game here in the 9th.
All of a sudden, Padres have the tying run on second base. Ramon Laureano dug in.
0-1 to Laureano. Here's the pitch. And Ramon swings, hits it on the ground to third base. Gobbled up by Suarez. Throw to first is just in time, and the ball game is over. Mariners take 2 out of 3, and they were all tight. They were all tense. But it's Seattle winning the series, and the Padres come up just shy in their 9th inning rally as Munoz is able to close the door and end the day. Final score again, Seattle 4, San Diego 3.
And even with the loss in the rubber game, Padres still have won 7 of their past 9 series. They enjoyed an off day in Minnesota yesterday and now get ready for the second leg of this 6-game road trip beginning today in Minneapolis. Of course, there was some big news earlier today. Padres putting shortstop Xander Bogaerts on the 10-day IL with a non-displaced fracture in his left foot. The corresponding move, Padres calling up infielder Mason McCoy from AAA El Paso. Bogaerts banging a foul ball off his left foot on Wednesday in Seattle. We heard after the game from Mike Shildt that he was getting additional imaging, and it turns out he has a fracture in that left foot. And as we continue to process that news, let's go to Minneapolis.
Let's take a trip up to the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup with Tony Gwynn Jr. in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Well, Tony, let's get your reaction to the news of the day before this game. That is Xander Bogaerts going on the IL. Unclear what the timetable will be to get Xander back. He seems to feel like he might be able to return before the end of the regular season. We'll see what the healing process looks like. But your initial reaction to the Bogaerts injury and how the Padres will now have to make do.
My initial reaction is not good.
Yeah.
Obviously, hate to lose a guy who's swinging a bat pretty good to bar from the spot he's in, but nobody's gonna care. Everybody's gonna have to figure out a way to kind of fill the gaps while Xander's gone. But certainly this is not an ideal blow for the Padres. They were already seemingly starting to get going offensively, and he was a big part of it. And so obviously you have to replace that. Mason McCoy gets the call up. He's not in the lineup today, but guys like him and Jose are going to have to kind of shoulder the load while Bogey tries to get healthy enough to be back before the end of the season.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Hopefully Xander can get back, and hopefully certainly back in time for the postseason. We'll see. It's broken bone in his foot, so I guess a little bit unpredictable as far as what the timetable might be. Moving forward into tonight's game, Tony, Nestor Cortes on the mound for the Padres. He was terrific against the Dodgers last Saturday. 6 scoreless innings, faced 1 over the minimum in those 6 scoreless innings. Your thoughts on what Nestor Cortes did in that start and what you'll look for him to do here tonight?
He was good. He was on the edges. He really did a great job of keeping the Dodgers off balance really throughout that start. And so he looks to do the same thing. I think if he's keeping the ball down and he's mixing and matching, I thought he did a really good job just kind of introducing the changeup enough to right-handers to give them a little bit something else to think about, because typically the cutter, the slider, they all are working in towards the righties. But he did a good job of just giving them that extra pitch to think about in that last start. And he was efficient. He was efficient in the zone. I think that's kind of his recipe of success when he's going to go out and have a good outing.
As far as the Padres lineup, Gavin Sheets back in there today. I want to focus on him for a second because he's been so good as of late. And as we talk about Xander Bogaerts' absence, it means that other guys throughout the lineup are going to have to step up. What have you seen from Gavin Sheets lately? Because as he's once again had opportunity to play seemingly every day, he's been really, really good, Tony.
I think Gavin's been remarkable. And he's doing something that is so hard to do at the big league level. You all of a sudden some moves are made and you're getting not sporadic time, but no time.
Yeah.
And yet find a way to keep rhythm. And when he got his opportunities, he didn't disappoint. It seemed like it was a double every time he came off the bench. And he's parlayed that right back into playing time and getting to – he hasn't been out of the lineup really since he was put back in. And I think that's in large part due to the fact that he didn't have to get ready. He stayed ready that whole time, and he just continues to put together an excellent 2025 season.
Yeah, he's been really, really good. We'll see what he does tonight against Twins starter Zebby Matthews. And speaking of the Twins, Tony, let's finish this with this. This was a Minnesota team that came into the season with pretty high expectations, had a very up and down first half of the season. And then I think stunningly at the deadline, they didn't just sell, but I mean, they really, really sold off. I think it was something like 30-40% of their roster. They ended up trading away at the deadline. So a lot of new faces now. What's the general feeling you have about this Twins team, where they are as we get ready for September?
I mean, my general feeling is that they're a team that is a complete rebuild, work in progress. I think from a Minnesota standpoint, in terms of the fans, it's got to be pretty disappointing, right? You had a team that was competitive and had a chance to compete for a wild card, and you seemingly threw up the white flag far earlier than anybody else did. And, I think the position players are largely the same outside of a guy like Correa, and they obviously gave up Bader. But it's the pitching that got ravished in that cell. And so there were a team that's kind of just stuck. They don't really have a direction at this point, and we may not know what direction that is until we get into the offseason and see what they do from there.
Yeah, and I'm sure you'll talk about it a little bit more during the broadcast. But to your point, they've got some talented guys in this lineup. Buxton and Shildt having a good rookie season. Wallner, Royce Lewis. Certainly a lot of talent in the lineup, but you're right. The bullpen in particular is totally, totally different than where they were at the start of the year. Tony, appreciate the time. We'll talk to you coming up at 5 p.m. here in California as the Padres begin this series in Minnesota. Thanks so much.
No problem, Sam.
All right, that's Tony Gwynn Jr. joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network. We have a lot to do on our pregame coverage. We'll hear from former Twin Luis Arraez in a little bit. We'll also hear from Xander Bogaerts about his injury. We'll see what the timetable is for Xander here moving forward. When we come back, we hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Not just the latest on Xander Bogaerts, but also very important updates on other guys that are on the IL right now. Jackson Merrill and Michael King. Very, very significant updates on them today. So a lot to do when we come back. We're getting ready for first pitch coming up at 5:10 in Minnesota, game one of this 3-game series between the Padres and the Twins on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 5:10 in Minnesota. Pitching matchup today, Zebby Matthews, right-hander on the mound for Minnesota, left-hander Nestor Cortes on the mound for San Diego. We appreciate you joining us on this Friday late afternoon, about to turn into early evening. Tell you what, it is an absolutely beautiful Friday here in America's finest city. Woke up in Ocean Beach today. There was no clouds in OB today. You usually get the cloud cover in the morning by my apartment. Tell you what, it was sunny. It was beautiful. So hopefully you've had a great Friday, getting ready for what should be a very, very nice weekend here in San Diego. Padres trying to bounce back after losing 2 out of 3 earlier in the week in Seattle as they continue this 6-game road trip. Well, we told you about Xander Bogaerts, who was put on the IL earlier today with that non-displaced fracture in his left foot. Of course, the Padres also dealing with a number of other guys on the IL right now. Jackson Merrill dealing with the sprained left ankle. Michael King's been on the IL for a bit, dealing with the soreness in his left knee. Let's get the latest on Bogaerts, King, and Merrill as we check in with Padres manager Mike Shildt.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt, served up by Sin Lee Food, where fresh meets flavor. Find farm fresh produce, bold Asian spices, and gourmet ingredients at 4665 El Cajon Boulevard. Sin Lee Food, the cook's Asian resource.
Mike, we'll start with the tough one with Xander and where he stands and what you're feeling the injury.
Yeah, I mean, not great news. We were a little leery. He's a tough guy, so when he had to come out of game, kind of knew it was, pretty serious and could always be worse, could always be better. But, I'm sure he talked to you about it. I know you've got the press release. I won't get into the medical terms of it, but effectively it looks like a, fracture that's going to require him being in a boot for a week and then evaluation from there. But at the moment, medical, including Bogey, most importantly, doesn't feel like this is going to be season ending. It's just going to be some period of time and don't like to put any timetable on it. But anyway, clearly he's going to be out. He's on the IL, and Mason McCoy's up with the club now.
So you got Jose starting tonight. I think we're in the lineup in short.
He is.
Jose going tonight. Yeah. With Xander, the psychology for you guys, because he's found his swing a bit, certainly, and what he provides for you all the way around, and he's had a couple injuries over the last few years. Not really anything that he seems to be doing wrong. I mean, just bad luck is what it seems like. What's that like on a player psychologically?
It's hard to say. I mean, everybody probably handles things differently. Bogey's a veteran guy. He's got, 11 plus years in the league, and but clearly frustrating. To your point, I mean, Bogey was playing. He got up to a slower start. So sometimes you get off a slower start, people have this assumption like, hey, this guy's not having a good year. This guy's having a good year, man. I don't know what the date would have been like, but mentioned him swinging the bat. He's swinging the bat really well, and he was playing really, really good shortstop. They're doing a lot of things on the bases, 20 for 22 stolen bases, catalyst on the club. And, but as far as what it does to him psychologically, he's in a, today he felt better than he did yesterday, so that helps him. And, he knows he's going to be back with us and just stay ready to go.
Jackson Merrill, can we get an update on him and where he stands?
Yes, Jackson went back to Arizona, took batting practice yesterday, threw a little bit. Feels like, he's in a good spot to progress to what he did today. Today was live batting practice. Actually faced Brian Hoeing, and both reports that both looked great. Played catch, and tomorrow he's going to get some more live at bats. So he's heading a good direction. Was able to do a little bit more running today, a little more aggressive running, and just like always how he recovers, but he's heading in a better spot.
Eligible to come off on Saturday, tomorrow, I believe. Is
correct.
What's your feel on the timeline for him?
It will not be Saturday. So he's going to be in Arizona on Saturday, more than likely Sunday, and we'll evaluate from there.
And Michael King, where's he with you right now? How does he feel?
Michael threw a 4-inning simulated game today in Fort Wayne and threw right at 60 pitches. And by all accounts, threw the ball really well. And if he recovers well, then it bodes well for him to be able to come join us. But he's got to recover well. But everything today was very positive for Michael.
Presumptive of me, perhaps, but no sooner than the Orioles series at home?
Well, he threw today 4 innings, so you can start to put it together. You say no sooner?
Yeah, like is Baltimore?
Is Baltimore in the mix?
Yeah, in the mix at all.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're starting a 3-game series, 3 games against Baltimore, so I wouldn't rule out towards the end of that series if possible. Just depends on how he recovers.
You got a starter for Sunday?
Not yet.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt earlier today inside the Padres dugout. We'll hear more from Mike in our post-game coverage coming up later on this evening. So the latest there on Merrill and King. Good update. You heard Jackson Merrill taking live BP today. He'll get more live at-bats tomorrow, but he won't be activated for tomorrow's game when he's eligible to come off the IL. And Michael King throwing 4 simulated innings at Fort Wayne today, and sounds like there could be a real possibility he could return this coming week at home against the Baltimore Orioles. So we'll see what the updates are in the days to come on Merrill and King. Good updates on them the same day that Xander Bogaerts is put on the IL. We'll take you around the horn in just a little bit, but first I do want to revisit some of what Twins broadcaster Cory Provus had to say earlier today here on 97.3 The Fan. He was a guest on the Braden Soprenet show, weekdays 10 to 2 here on 97.3 The Fan. Twins came into this season high expectations, a lot of good players in their lineup, some good starting pitching, really, really good bullpen, a bullpen that I think was considered to be one of the better bullpens in baseball entering the year. Here was Cory Provus earlier today on what went wrong for the Twins this season that led the Twins to sell off at the deadline the way they did.
Sadly, Royce Lewis got hurt again. He popped his hamstring in mid-March, so his season began delayed, but everybody loved the bullpen entering the year. It was projected to be, if not the best, certainly a top 2, top 3 bullpen in the game, and it was performing in that way. A little bullish too on the top end of the rotation with Pablo Lopez and Joe Ryan and Bailey Ober. You liked what you had, and then Byron Buxton coming into a year in a way that we had not seen in years, and that he didn't have surgery this offseason. So there was a lot to like about this team, and a healthy Carlos Correa and an emerging farm system with some young talent, that you thought this was going to be a formidable team to start the year. But they got off to a dreadful start in April. They began the year around 7-13, but then as the calendar flipped into late April into May, they became the hottest team in baseball when they saved their season for a second straight year, winning 13 straight games. Had a great month of May, 18 wins in the month of May, but then injuries caught up to them in June, and the starting pitching, which was among the game's best, plummeted, and really the Twins season went south starting in June, and that's kind of why they did what they did at the trade deadline and pretty much overhauling their team and trading away 40% of the roster on deadline day.
That was Cory Provus, Twins broadcaster, earlier today here on 97.3 The Fan. Very good breakdown on kind of what happened this season for the Twins. Minnesota comes in a record of 60-73, San Diego at 75-59 as we get ready for this series opener in Minnesota. First pitch coming up at 5:10. Let's take you around the horn.
Let's examine the most important news and the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball. Sam Levitt takes you around the horn. Presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Get ready for Major League winning when you join Valley View Casino and Hotel's Players Club and receive over $200 in free instant offers. Visit valleyviewcasino.com to learn more today.
A few quick headlines from around the major leagues. Former Dodger Walker Buehler was released by the Boston Red Sox earlier today. The Red Sox deciding that Buehler couldn't help him in their rotation. He was moved out of the rotation, and then they thought about trying him out of the bullpen, but they released him earlier today. He struggled since signing a $21 million deal with Boston in the offseason. 7-7 this year with a 5.45 ERA, made 22 starts before he was demoted to the bullpen last week. So Walker Buehler is no longer a Boston Red Sox. We'll see if Buehler signs with anybody else before the season comes to an end. Mariners outfielder Victor Robles will now be suspended 7 games following an appeal with Major League Baseball. He had been facing a 10-game suspension after he threw a bat in frustration towards an opposing pitcher during a minor league rehab assignment. Robles will begin serving that suspension today. Cardinals placing Alec Burleson and Yoel Pozo on the injured list earlier today. Burleson placed on the IL with right wrist inflammation. Pozo put on the 7-day concussion IL after taking a foul tip off his mask during Thursday's game against the Pirates. And finally, Marlins Returning Connor Norby from the IL earlier today. He had been on the IL for more than a month with a broken hamate bone in his left wrist. He last played in early July. He was back in the lineup today for Miami in New York, and we'll have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard coming up a little bit later on in our pregame coverage. When we come back, we hear from Xander Bogaerts, who was put on the IL earlier today, plus we hear from Luis Arraez a little bit later as well. Our keys to the game and a look at today's starting pitching matchup between Zebby Matthews and Nestor Cortes. First pitch coming up at 5:10 right here on the Padres Radio Network.
When you watch people on TV, have you ever wondered what are these foam things that go over the microphone? Let me show you.
This is a windscreen. They're really helpful when you're broadcasting outside.
Without it, do you hear that wind? But with it on, I sound much more clear.
Welcome to a day in my life as a minor league baseball broadcaster. Start my day with a cup of coffee, then to the stadium. Go to my booth, spend the morning cutting video from the night before, catching up on email, and researching for tonight's game. Then I go home, shower, get my work clothes, and on this day I made a stop for lunch. Barbecue. Then I drive back to the stadium, get our equipment ready like setting up all the mics. I watch batting practice, talk to the players, coaches, write my lineups in, keep researching, and prep for my pregame interviews. Change from this to this. I head down to the field, host my pregame show on TV, then back upstairs where I broadcast every pitch on TV and radio.
And the Soft Poodles win. When you watch baseball on TV or listen to it on the radio, have you ever wondered how you hear this sound so clearly?
At my stadium, that sound comes from this mic behind home plate. It's wired all the way up to my broadcast booth, where I plug it in, and that's how you hear it. During my broadcast last night, everyone wanted me to say avocado. Could I do it? Beautiful night here in San Antonio. So nice it almost feels like that feeling when you break open an avocado, you spread it on a good piece of toast, you take a bite in the morning. And with that, the 2021 season, and with that, the 2022 season, and with that, the 2023 season, and with that, the 2024 season comes to an end. Good night. As a baseball broadcaster, many of you have asked me some version of this. Why do I peek down when a fly ball goes in the air? Let me show you. In my scorebook, I write down the defense and where every player is. That way, I can do this. 2-2 on the way. Swinging a drive into left. Going back, Matajevic drifting by the fence. He's looking up and say goodbye.
People keep asking how I go to the bathroom during games. Here's the answer. I run. The bathroom is far away. Really far. I only have 90 seconds.
The bottom half of the sixth
I'm
inning.
always out of breath.
Frisco 3, Amarillo 2.
How other broadcasters handle a foul ball.
Yeah!
Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. First pitch coming up in Minnesota at 5:10. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we continue to walk you up towards first pitch. Let's give you the latest on Xander Bogaerts, Jackson Merrill, and Michael King.
Who's in, who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
So I know we went over this a little bit earlier, but let's kind of recap it again just in totality. Padres have three key guys right now on the IL. Xander Bogaerts put on the IL earlier today with a non-displaced fracture in his left foot after he hit a foul ball off his foot on Wednesday in Seattle. The timetable for Bogaerts coming back, still a little unclear, although we're going to hear from Xander in just a second, get his thoughts on when he may be back. Jackson Merrill, who's been on the IL with a left ankle sprain and bruising in that ankle, he's eligible to come off the IL tomorrow. We heard from Mike Shildt a little bit earlier. He took live batting practice today in Arizona at the team's spring training complex. He'll take more live at-bats tomorrow. He will not come off the IL, though, tomorrow, but he continues to make progress. Michael King, as we heard earlier from Mike Shildt, threw a 4-inning simulated game at Fort Wayne today. We'll see how he recovers from that. If he recovers well, it sounds like a pretty distinct possibility that his next time throwing would be at the major league level. So those are the updates on Bogaerts, Merrill, and King. And speaking of Xander Bogaerts, obviously not very good news earlier today, put on the IL with that fracture in his left foot. Here was Xander earlier today inside the Padres clubhouse in Minnesota.
When you fouled it off your foot, is it an indication to you right away it could be more than just a little bruise?
I think so. I mean, I've gotten a lot of foul balls, but I think this one kind of hit me in a spot where I've probably never been hit before also. So, I mean, I wasn't sure how it would have been, but it definitely hurt, I can tell you that. But I don't think I hit a foul ball off of that spot before.
It's a non-displaced fracture. Tell us about what that means in your terms as far as timeline, how you're going to treat it.
A couple weeks and, looking to be back. Hopefully, like, right before the regular season ends. I mean, that's probably what I'm trying to hope for. I mean, last year I had the shoulder and came back a little earlier. Blessed with some nice bones, so hopefully I can help with this time also.
I would imagine a certain level of frustration given the time of the year and the fact that you're swinging it well and you found a nice rhythm at the plate. I know you worked hard on that. Can you speak to where you are mentally when you get an injury like this at this point?
Yeah, I mean, it's you're not expecting it, even like doing an MRI and CT scans and stuff like that, you're not really anticipating any of that. But I mean, once the news comes, it's like, I think last year was probably the worst one. I mean, I've never had to be out for a long time. And I remember when they told me the amount of time I was out last year, I mean, I cried a little bit. I mean, I've never been out that much, So this one, just being able to understand that probably will be back a little bit, hopefully before the regular season ends. I mean, it makes it a little bit better. Instead of being like, hey, you broke the whole thing and you're out for the whole season, that probably would have been a different type of reaction.
Are there things you can do to stay in baseball shape, throw or swing it earlier than?
I think the throwing probably will be the only one that I can probably. I don't want to really lose that. It feels good the way it's coming out right now and online and everything. So I think that's probably the only thing I can try to work on or just continue doing. Besides that, I mean, hitting, you need your legs and fielding also. Maybe you could do some drills, stuff like that, but nothing like on your feet now.
I feel like the last few years have just been a little rough. You've played so many games.
I mean, it's injuries where it's, I mean, what do you want me to do? I wish I didn't swing, Since I take a lot, if I didn't swing, it wouldn't happen, So I try to take care of my body the best as I can with these last two injuries. I mean, one is a dive and one is a foul ball. I mean, I don't know how else I can control that. I feel like there's a lot of injuries you can prevent, and for the most part, I've been able to do that. But getting hit by pitch is the same thing. I mean, I don't know how to don't do that.
That's what I meant. Like there was the hit by pitch, there was the shoulder, there was the.
Those are
bad luck.
You could say bad luck, but it's baseball plays. I mean, the one diving, bases loaded, you try to make a play and you get stuck and you mess up the shoulder. And now this one, I mean, just trying to put a good swing on the ball. I put a good swing on it, I can tell you that. I put a really good swing on that one yesterday. It went straight down in my leg. That was a nice swing, I can tell you that. That hit hard.
That was Xander Bogaerts inside the Padres clubhouse earlier today. So you heard Xander there, hopeful that maybe he could be back by the end of the regular season. We'll have to see what the timetable ends up being for Xander as he goes on the IL earlier today with that non-displaced fracture in his left foot. Hopefully Xander is back as soon as possible. Obviously, a very important player to the Padres here in 2025. First pitch coming up at 5:10 in Minnesota. Let's give you our keys to today's game.
How will the Padres unlock a win today? These are the keys to the game. Presented by El Centro Motors Ford. Meet your new Ford General Manager, Greg Ryan, now at El Centro Motors Ford, your new Ford truck, Bronco, and SUV HQ. Call Greg directly at 619-944-0774.
Key number one, get homer happy. Zebby Matthews has allowed 20 home runs in his first 90-plus MLB innings, including 5 home runs allowed in his past 3 starts. The Padres have the second fewest home runs at 116 hit this season, but This is a starting pitcher tonight for Minnesota who is susceptible to the long ball. So the Padres have to take advantage. Guys like Manny, guys like Fernando. Manny Machado has just 1 home run in August. Fernando Tatis Jr. has just 2 home runs in his last 40 games. Look for those guys to hopefully take advantage of, a starting pitcher that has been very, very susceptible to giving up the home run ball. That's key number 1. Key number 2, be good against Buxton. Byron Buxton hit 2 solo home runs in the Twins' loss on Wednesday to the Blue Jays. He has 4 home runs in 15 games since coming off the IL with ribcage inflammation. 27 home runs so far this season. He's 4 for 10 with a double and 2 home runs in his career against Nestor Cortez. Key number 3, watch out for the rookie. Twins rookie Luke Keeschel has homered in each of his past 2 games. He's batting .329 with 10 extra base hits, 16 RBIs in 20 games since his return from the IL. He was out with a forearm fracture. And key number 4, with no Xander Bogaerts in the lineup, Padres need others to step up. How about Gavin Sheets? 2 hits on Wednesday in Seattle, batting .378 with a 12.09 OPS in his last 13 games. And that's a look at our keys to today's game. First pitch coming up at 5:10. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
We have a number of games going on right now. Cardinals ahead of the Reds 4-2 in Cincinnati in the 4th inning. Braves ahead of the Phillies 1-0 in Philadelphia in the 4th inning. Rays 2 and the Nationals 1 in Washington, D.C. in the 4th inning. Brewers and the Blue Jays are scoreless in the 3rd in Toronto. A very good series there. Brewers 83-52. Blue Jays 78-56 coming in. Mets ahead of the Marlins 5-0 in the 2nd. Jonah Tong, very highly touted pitching prospect for New York, making his major league debut tonight. Pirates and the Red Sox at Fenway in the 3rd. They're scoreless there. Mariners lead the Guardians 4-0 in Cleveland in the 2nd. Yankees and the White Sox in Chicago are scoreless in the 1st inning. Games coming up later. Angels and the Astros in Houston at 5:10. Tigers and the Royals in Kansas City at 5:10. Cubs and the Rockies at 5:40 in Colorado. Rangers and the A's in Sacramento at 7:05. D-backs in LA against the Dodgers at 7:10. And finally, Orioles and the Giants in San Francisco at 7:15. And that's a look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Friday. When we come back, we hear from former Minnesota Twin Luis Arraez. That's where Luis Arraez started this great run of consecutive batting titles. A great Minnesota Twin. He plays his first game as a visitor in Minnesota tonight. So we hear from Luis Arraez when we come back. First pitch coming up at 5:10. Game 1 of this 3-game series between the Padres and the Twins on the Padres Radio Network.
Fernando, you're facing a really good... But the Padres continue to play well.
Just to enjoy the experience, man.
And every series has ramifications.
Thank you very much. San Diego Padres. Enjoy the game, everybody.
Fernando, congrats on another big win. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Rays post-game show continues. Did you know that every MLB stadium, inside both dugouts, has a set of 3 phones? One that goes to the bullpen, another to each team's video replay room, and one that can communicate with the press box if need be. I'm a baseball broadcaster, and this week my team is playing in Frisco, Texas. This stadium is home of a lazy river beyond right field. It stretches 174 feet, one of the most unique things in any ballpark in America. And the first ever person to float on this lazy river, NBA star Dirk Nowitzki. Fernando, you were all over the... Start the game. Total game changer.
Everybody's watching baseball right now.
The strategy there.
Hi again, everyone. Sam Levitt with you. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody. Have you ever been to baseball heaven? That's Cooperstown, New York, home of the Baseball Hall of Fame. From the Babe to Jackie to Hammer and Hank to Sosa and McGuire to Ozzie, Griffey, Pedro, and so many more, this place is a crown jewel of baseball history, celebrating the game we love. As a baseball broadcaster, many of you have asked me some version of this. How do I come up with different words and phrases to say during the game? Let me show you a little trick. In my setup at the stadium, I always have this list of play-by-play phrases. I'll look at it before a game or sometimes between innings. I also keep a running list of new things to use as I hear them when I'm watching or listening to baseball. That's part of how I come up with new ways to say stuff.
Fernando, you're facing a really good...
Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we get ready for today's game. First pitch coming up at 5:10 between the Padres and the Twins in Minnesota. Padres beginning the second leg of the 6-game road trip. They lost 2 out of 3 in Seattle. Now try to bounce back with hopefully a series win this weekend in Minnesota. Padres then back home on Monday on Labor Day to begin a 3-game series against the Baltimore Orioles. Left-hander Nestor Cortez on the mound for the Padres today. Right-hander Zebby Matthews on the mound for Minnesota. We'll talk more about those guys coming up in just a little bit. First, let's tell you what to watch for in this series opener.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For, presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for tonight? Can Luis Arraez thrive in his old home? This will be Arraez's first game as a visitor at Target Field in Minnesota. Arraez playing first base and batting second for the Padres here tonight. Luis debuted with the Twins in 2019. He won the first of his 3 consecutive batting titles in 2022. He hit .316 in 2022, .354 then for Miami in 2023. The 2022 batting title was with Minnesota. Then last year between the Marlins and the Padres hit .314. As we know, it's been a bit of a different year for Luis Arraez. He enters today batting only .283. That's 19 points behind Freddie Freeman in his pursuit of a 4th consecutive batting title. So bottom line, Luis is going to have to get really hot in all likelihood to win this year's batting title, make it 4 in a row, and he's batting just .190 in his last 16 games. So can a visit back to Minnesota get it going for Luis Arraez? That's what to watch for in today's game. And with Luis Arraez in mind, here was Luis earlier today inside the Padres clubhouse reflecting on his return to Minnesota.
I'm excited. I'm happy to be here today and to go there and enjoy.
When you woke up this morning and you knew where you were heading today, what were you feeling?
When I wake up, I just open the door and then I tell my wife, wow, this is the thing, give me the opportunity to play baseball, you know. They signed me since 2013 when I was 16 years old. And then this is my first team, so I'm excited to be here.
A lot of new faces, but the organization remains the same. Is it? Can you describe the emotional feeling that you have for this organization?
Yeah, that's what I say. They give me the opportunity. And especially the fans. The fans, they support me a lot here. And, especially Rucaru, it's like my grandfather. I hope he's here. Want to see him and Tony. And Rocco was there. He is still there. And a lot of coaches, Borrego. Ramon Borrego was my first manager in my rookie league. He gave me a lot of opportunity. He helped me a lot. He helped me a lot to play defense, to respect the game too. Ramon is one of my favorite coaches what I have.
Your wife is with you on this trip.
Yeah.
How does she feel about it?
She's happy. She's excited. That's why she's come here, and then she support me a lot. So she's let's see what they have for me tonight.
They've got that special presentation or so, like video tribute. How do you feel when a team thinks so much of you that you come back as a visiting player and they take time out at the home team show to honor you?
Man, I can't wait. I can't wait till the game starts. I mean, it's good thing. It's good thing because I did a lot of good things here, and then they know I play hard every day. I respect the game, and I just want to win. I just want to win, and I think they love that.
You think it'll be emotional for you when you see the tribute on the board?
I'm an emotional guy, so let's see.
That was Luis Arraez earlier today inside the Padres clubhouse, and with Xander Bogaerts put on the IL earlier today. Bottom line, Padres are going to need others to step up in that lineup, and hopefully Luis, who's been struggling a little bit as of late, can do that here today in his first ever game in Minnesota as a visiting player after making his debut with the Twins back in 2019, and obviously a number of very, very good seasons as a Minnesota Twin. A look at today's starting pitching matchup. Right-hander Zebby Matthews on the mound for Minnesota today, 3-4, 5.30 ERA. He allowed 4 runs on 8 hits in 4 2/3 innings against the White Sox a week ago. Left-hander Nestor Cortes on the mound for the Padres. He's 2-2 with a 4.66 ERA and a handful of starts between the Brewers and the Padres this season. He was terrific against the Dodgers last Saturday, retired 18 of the 19 batters he faced. He went 6 shutout innings. Padres have won 3 of his 4 starts since he was acquired from Milwaukee at the trade deadline. He's 1-1 with a 3 ERA in those 4 outings for the Padres so far. So Cortes has been pretty good. And as we said earlier with Matthews, he has allowed 5 home runs in his past 3 starts. So we'll see if the Padres can take advantage of that here today. As always, thank you for listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Your water should be perfect. Let's set the table one more time for you as the Padres get ready to take on the Twins in game 1 of this 3-game series. Padres come in 75-59. They enter the day 2 games out of first place in the National League West behind the Dodgers. Padres currently sitting in the NL's second wild card spot. Of course, the first wild card spot would host a wild card series. Right now, if the season ended today at this very moment, Padres would head on the road for a wild card series. That's part of the reason why the Padres have to continue playing well. They want to move up that National League playoff seeding. Twins, meanwhile, enter today 60-73. They have lost 12 of their last 16 games. Padres dropping 2 out of 3 in Seattle to begin this road trip, and now they try to bounce back on this Labor Day weekend in Minnesota. When we come back, Bob Scanlon, Tony Gwynn Jr. have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. I'll talk to you on our post-game coverage later on this evening. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network. Enjoy the game, everybody.